This is the Everyday AI Show, the everyday podcast where we simplify AI and bring its power to your fingertips. Listen daily for practical advice to boost your career, business, and everyday life.
How much of your day do you spend reading, right? Text everywhere. We're just being buried in text, right? I think especially with ChatGPT and all of these large language models, when it made creating pretty good and high quality text so much easier. But now it's hitting us everywhere. But in the future, is everything just going to be video? Are we going to see way more AI video everywhere? Are big companies going to see maybe that text holds less weight and be creating even more video with humans or with humans and AI? Well, I don't have all the answers, but our guest today does, right? I'm very excited to talk today about AI's transformational role in streaming video. So if that sounds like something you care about, thank you for tuning in. My name's Jordan Wilson, and this is Everyday AI. We're a daily live stream podcast and free daily newsletter helping us all keep up with everything that's happening in the world of AI and how we can all use this information to get ahead, grow our companies and careers. So if you haven't already, if you're listening on the podcast, make sure to check out the show notes and go to youreverydayai.com. Sign up for the free daily newsletter. Every single day, we tell you what you need to know, as well as recapping the biggest takeaways from every day's episode. All right, before we jump in, let's talk about the important AI news you need to know. So OpenAI has introduced its new Canvas feature, a rival to Anthropic Claude's popular artifacts. So OpenAI has launched their new Canvas integration for ChatGPT, marking a significant update in how users interact with their AI. So this development is noteworthy as it aims to streamline the editing process specifically for writing code. So the Canvas interface allows users to edit text or code side by side with ChatGPT, enhancing collaboration and contextual understanding. So this feature introduces a separate editing window, enabling users to manually adjust content or highlight sections for targeted feedback. So ChatGPT can now provide more relevant suggestions as it better understands user intention with this new interface. Yeah, normally we would have had that in our newsletter yesterday. I didn't have a time to review it, so we'll have our review of that today. Next, Google has introduced ads in AI overviews to make more money. All right, so Google is now rolling out ads within its AI-generated summaries, a move that aims to connect users with relevant products and services more efficiently. So Google has begun displaying ads in its AI overviews, which is kind of like, it's a Perplexity-like feature. You put in a query and it just kind of answers it for you, but with AI, right? But now there's ads there. So these new sponsored product suggestions will appear only when the search has a commercial angle, according to Google spokesperson Craig Ewer. So this rollout follows a testing phase that began in May, as Google believes it helps users more quickly find relevant businesses and products at the moment when they need them. So right now it's only available in the US and exclusively on mobile devices. And in addition to ads, Google is updating the formatting of AI overviews, making cited web pages more prominent on the right side of the summaries to increase traffic to those sites. Last but not least, more OpenAI news. They've secured a $4 billion line of credit, boosting their liquidity to over $10 billion. So OpenAI has made more headlines by closing a significant funding round recently, a $6.6 billion funding round that values the company at $157 billion. So add in this $4 billion of revolving credit, and they got $10 billion of liquid cash. So the newly secured credit line increases OpenAI's liquidity to more than $10 billion, offering substantial flexibility for future initiatives. So the credit line is unsecured and spans 3 years with an option to increase by an additional $2 billion. So OpenAI's interest rate is approximately 6%. So yeah, you got to pay that back based on the current secured overnight financing rate. So OpenAI's revenue surged to $300 million last month, according to reports, marking a huge increase for like more than 1,000% since the start of the previous year, with projections of $11.6 billion in sales for the next year. All right, a lot more on those stories in today's newsletter. So make sure you go check that out. But you tuned in today to hear about how video and AI and the intersection of the two is impacting our daily lives. And it's a lot more than you might think. So that's why I'm excited to have today on the show. Let's go ahead and bring him on. There we have him. So we have Marc DeBevoise, the CEO of Brightcove. Marc, thank you so much for joining the Everyday AI Show.
No, thanks for having me, Jordan. Great to be here.
All right, I'm excited. So a lot of people know Brightcove, but for those that don't, Marc, can you tell us a little bit what you all do?
Yep, we are the world's most trusted streaming technology program, and we are committed to building what we call the world's fastest, smartest, and most reliable automated engagement platform anchored in video and its delivery over the internet. I believe we can revolutionize how customers grow audiences, increase revenue, improve business efficiency. We serve about 2,000 plus customers in over 60 countries around the globe for all of those needs. And the businesses are roughly, a half and half business between serving media companies around the globe and serving real enterprises. About 1,500 of our customers are true enterprise customers for how they deliver engagement with their audiences.
All right. Yeah. Hey, side note, we'll have to, maybe introduce you to the people over there at LinkedIn so we can get you on there. We've been having LinkedIn video streaming issues all day, but that's another topic.
Feel free to reach out, LinkedIn. We're ready for you. We're ready to help.
Well, let's just get straight to it, Marc. How is AI going to and continue going to change the video landscape? Because I see it all the time. I follow the news, but this is your bread and butter. How's AI going to shake up the world of video?
Yeah, I think the way it's really going to transform the nearest of terms, meaning the next 2 to 3 years, is actually different than what most people would expect, right? I think it's going to fully transform the creation, management, and distribution of effectively all video over the next decade. But I think, if you think about media companies, the type of video they create, true entertainment, and sports and news content, most of that is going to be a challenge to change in the near term, given the issues related to talent and creativity and how does that really interact. I think people are going to use AI in some of those creations, but I think the ability for that to fully take over and dominate is going to be a little farther off until we sort through a lot of the legal and personal issues. Where I think it's really going to have a tremendous impact is on video usage by enterprises and by corporations, and really maybe even more individual creators as well, like yourself. But I think that the tremendous wave we're going to see there is that if you think about, 70 to 80% of internet traffic is video delivery, 75% of all internet users are using video on a monthly basis. And then you realize that's not all watching, effectively Game of Thrones or Succession, although, it sounds like fun. It's really going to be about how do you use AI in your everyday business life, right? So whether that's internal video creation, whether that's advertising creation, whether that's marketing and promotion creation, product videos, you name it, the ability to just at a few keystrokes create a video or amplify a video or change it or multiply it into multiple formats is just going to extremely accelerate the volume and maturity of those enterprise businesses. And, we at Brightcove are excited about that because we effectively help companies at that video maturity stage understand how to really engage their audiences, really help them either drive revenue or find efficiencies in their business in which way to deliver that engagement.
So much to unpack there. When I'm excited to jump into a lot there, but just as a quick reminder to our live stream audience, right? Not every day you can come on and ask a question of the CEO of a public company. So make sure everyone who's joining us, Kurt, Marie, Jason, Jackie, Jason. I can't get to everyone, but if you have questions about how AI is impacting the future of video, now is the time to ask those questions. But let's just ask that question that a lot of people are probably thinking, and you kind of addressed it a little bit there, right? When we talk about the future of entertainment, right? Everyone's like, oh, are we just going to be watching, AI generated videos in the theaters anytime soon? Kind of sounded like we're not really close there. And, I think those companies, the Runways and the Pika Labs of the world, and you have your Google and Meta, developing their own AI video platforms as well. What does that look like in both the near term and the long term future, Marc?
Yeah, look, I think you will see AI generated art and art forms, very quickly. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I think it's going to stop the AI creation of it. I just think it's not going to stop the human creation of it and the human element and how now I think human element intertwined with how they use AI to produce and post-produce and how to create that type of content is certainly going to be something we see evolve over even the nearest of terms. My point was more, you're not going to see us going from, 400 or something like that, MPAA feature films to 1,000 or 5,000 because AI made half of them, right? Or something like that. I think that's going to take a significant amount of time to figure out how, the artists and the creative tools actually end up working together. But it does mean you're going to see tons of experiments, right? Like just like you saw with when animation, started to really ramp up from a CGI perspective, just like you saw special effects really ramp up, in that business. I think you're going to see AI be an influencer starting already. And really, where does it go? I mean, one of the most interesting things I've seen, one of the products we launched in our new AI suite was really about content creation. One of them is actually a universal translator where you could take any video and put it in any one of 85 languages fully dubbed with, realistic synthetic voices. And it is phenomenally good, right? Doesn't quite move the lips exactly the way that word would be shaped, but it's pretty darn close. And our view there is like, think about how much you just expanded the audience for any piece of content, right? Like you just expanded it to sort of effectively a global audience. And while all of the key entertainment properties end up around the globe, there's a significant effort of those companies to get that content to be fully dubbed, subbed, and pushed into those territories where now I think because of streaming, internet delivery can go global, because you can translate it literally on the fly. Does that just accelerate the global nature of content? You don't need Netflix to distribute it globally. It can happen on any platform in any format, and it can happen for any type of content. It doesn't need to be a full episode content. It can be your webinar, it can be your LinkedIn podcast, it can be your any form of content that really would seek that engagement.
You bring up a good point there, because I think that there's, two different, maybe classifications of AI video. You have your, AI video generators, and, I'm sure we'll be seeing news from OpenAI with, their Sora soon. Adobe's been in the space. So, all the big players are there. But then you also have kind of what you just brought up there, right? The ability to speak more languages, right? To have AI avatars, right? We had a founding member from the Hour One team on the show this week talking about that. Is that something that you see, at least when it comes to AI's impact on video? Is that going to be pretty common, right? Are all the employees from, Brightcove going to be getting, in a daily AI video from, CEO Marc going out there talking about their, their priorities for the week? Is that going to be a big thing, do you think?
They can have a video from me on their priorities for the week anytime, just directly. We don't need AI for that. But no, I think the volume that we see in video and some of the worry will be like, can you watch all that video, right? But what people are doing is they're actually seeking out that video today, right? They are shunning, they're moving away from text and they're moving towards video, right? They're moving away from those other formats. Audio has actually thrived because of, the nature of headphones and mobile phones and commuting and sort of moving around. But I think ultimately video is going to be the anchor technology for engagement because it is the most engaging, right? It does actually work. Sight, sound, motion does work better in terms of engaging audiences. And so the worry will be like, how do you discern, right? How do you discern what's worthy of the time and the effort to both create, which will now become easier and therefore you'll ramp up, and what's worthy of your time to consume. And that's where a true engagement, layer is needed, right? You need something that can help you optimize and find the right things. So for example, one of the things we launched in our AI suite was a metadata optimizer, which sounds like, the snooziest, most boring part of a platform you could ever imagine, right? Like, fill in the metadata, right? And every producer, editor has to go in and say, what's the title and what's the description and what are all the pieces of the data that goes with this video? But imagine you can click a button and it auto-generates. And it auto-generates not just what the transcript said or what the video said, but it smartly understands what's actually the most engaging on your platform from the analytics and insights that are delivered from its playout. That's the system we're trying to create, right? We're trying to build a loop that says, when I write the word Jordan and Marc, I get yay engagement. When I write the word, leading podcaster and public company CEO, I get way more traffic, right? So that you would want to actually fill in that metadata properly, tag it properly. A human may be lazy, quick, doing other things, drinking their coffee while they're doing it. But the AI will know that is what is going to get most engaging on delivery, and therefore will feed it back. And if you think about that loop, it actually creates an ability to search and discover the right videos for you. So I think there's like a debate of like, well, it's just going to be tonnage, and how am I going to sort through the tonnage? I think the answer is you're going to be engaged by the ones that actually perform for you and for the system that's a system of delivery, right? And that's going to make a big difference. So not only does the creation get smarter, but the distribution and engagement gets smarter. delivered by this technology. I think that's great.
Yeah. And, one of the things that I kind of opened the show with, Marc, is this, in my opinion, I think text is starting to carry less weight, right? Because of these large language models, and anyone or any company that, maybe they didn't have a bunch of talented writers before, now they can get pretty good copy and they can get it very quickly. And my thought is like, and it kills me as a former journalist, right? Like maybe the written word is losing its luster. Number one, is that something that you see? And if so, might we run into that same impact with, AI generated visuals?
Yeah. So I think what's happening is first, we do a podcast like this and we put this into the system, right? The transcript's being created automatically, right? And that is turning it into language to then be large language model, right? So right now, the way this is all being structured is mostly off of text, right? And it's mostly off of the language that is created in these situations. So I think that's model one. Now, are we going to learn how to read video, turn it into text, and put it into LLMs, or is the LLM going to become like a video language model over the long run? I think the answer is it doesn't really matter, right? Like one way or the other, this form and format is going to be fed into those models and become smarter. Now, is text going to go the way of the dodo, so to speak? Is it going to go away? I don't think so. I think you're going to need it in the right form and formats. But what you are finding is that it has less impact than it did 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 20 years ago, 10. Just like radio doesn't go away and no media goes away. It just sort of becomes its new place in the world. And I do think, the growth in streaming and in video overall just tells you that that's where all of this needs to go. That's why we find that our business has evolved from being, it's a 20-year-old business. We're celebrating our 20th year this year. And what's so amazing about that is we started as just a web video player for publishers. We then realized we could sell that to some companies to put some videos on their website. Now we are a true engagement platform that enables all kinds of use cases, from marketing to communications to sales. Whether you're doing your all hands or trying to put a product video out there, or actually, try to sell one-to-one to someone, you can use a video to do that. Think about that evolution, how much more video has taken, right? Then, you're not, you can get a sales email, right? And yeah, you can have I can send one to the whole company instead of doing an all hands, but which one's going to be more engaging, right? And I think people have realized that this is really going to supplant a lot of that text usage, and you're seeing it across the board. I mean, I used to run a news business when I worked at CBS News. We started a CBS News streaming network, right? So we could get a video on every page where there was text, because we were getting traffic on every page, but we really wanted to engage them with video about the same stories. And so I think that really is just where the evolution is going to go.
What kind of demand have you seen, especially change? And it seems like these things kind of, happen at the same time, right? We had, COVID, work from home, remote work. So a lot, I think at that point, a lot of people became used to being on video calls. And, that obviously gives companies, like what you were talking about, it actually gives them a lot of knowledge too, right? Because now you have a recording of all your people talking about important things that maybe you didn't have before. So you had that kind of happen. And then right around the same time, you kind of have this generative AI boom shortly thereafter. So how do you think that, kind of the combination of these things has changed just the overall consumer appetite to both want video and maybe pay attention to it? Because I even think myself, right? I think I used to read a ton more text, and now I find myself just always just looking for the video or looking for the YouTube versus that long, helpful article.
Yeah. I think two things. I think, that is definitely happening. I think we're seeing that happen. I think we're squeezing certain media into their new place in the world. But I also do think that, the capability of AI to summarize and to find the key moments and to enable it to be across whatever platform you might need it on. So I point to another tool we created called our content multiplier, which take any long form video, right? Take a 20-minute video, an hour-long video, find the highlights for me, like those 2-minute segments that are really important. Give me 1 2 to 3 minute video that just summarizes the whole thing, if you can, please, right? And then finally, turn it into all the forms and formats I might need for social, vertical, put the right headers and footers on, put those types of things at the right chyron. And it works, and it understands where the key points in the video are. And yeah, you can edit it in our system and you can change it, because we always want to give humans a little bit of control. So it does like 90% and then leaves the last 10 for the human. But why I think that's so important is that we are finding that, that It's not that our attention spans have shrunk. It's that our attention for certain things now is compartmentalized. Will people still sit and watch a 3-hour movie? Absolutely, right? You've seen more of that in recent years than ever before. Will people sit and binge watch, 20 episodes of a show straight through? You say, like, what happened to their attention span? I thought they could only do 3 seconds like a goldfish, right? But what I do see is that when you're talking about something that is 20 minutes that could have been 4, but it took the two of us to get 20 minutes to get it out of each other, like, let's make it 4 and let's get people doing it quickly and understanding it in a quicker amount of time so they can move on to the next thing. And I think that's really powerful technology. That's where the technology fades into the background, right? And that's when technology is its strongest, is when you don't actually feel that it's the technology. You just feel that it's the answer, right? I think that's really, truly when it becomes more powerful.
Are you still running in circles trying to figure out how to actually grow your business with AI? Maybe your company has been tinkering with large language models for a year or more, but can't really get traction to find ROI on Gen AI. Hey, this is Jordan Wilson, host of this very podcast. Companies like Adobe, Microsoft, and NVIDIA have partnered with us because they trust our expertise in educating the masses around generative AI to get ahead. And some of the most innovative companies in the country hire us to help with their AI strategy and to train hundreds of their employees on how to use Gen AI. So whether you're looking for ChatGPT training for thousands or just need help building your front-end AI strategy, you can partner with us too, just like some of the biggest companies in the world do. Go to youreverydayai.com/partner to get in contact with our team, or you can just click on the partner section of our website. We'll help you stop running in those AI circles and help get your team ahead and build a straight path to ROI on Gen AI. I think one thing when I think about video, I feel it's traditionally been used for, entertainment, news, sports, right? And I feel a lot of things fall into, those categories, probably education as well. Now that, and with these AI tools improving, right? Like I've already talked about Runway and Pico Labs and Sora from OpenAI and Google Meta, everyone's building these AI video models. Do you see kind of new avenues for video consumption being created that maybe we just didn't think about until, right, the process and the needed skills and the needed investment starts going lower and lower and lower, just like it has with text? Do you see new avenues being created for video consumption that maybe didn't make sense, 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Look, it was the evolution of the way, we needed the internet first, right? We needed the ability to communicate in this way with everything available to everyone effectively 24/7, right? And you needed that always on type of delivery technology. Then you needed, the ability to deliver different forms and formats over that period. So you needed a video player, you needed that capability. Then you said, I got to create this video. And up until recently, it's been like, take a camera, shoot it, maybe edit it and then get it out there, right? And then you said, I could put that camera on top of my screen. I could put that camera on my phone. I could put it in my hand, right? Phone's a big part of this and how that comes through. Now what you're seeing is now we've built models. Our partners have been Anthropic, AWS, and Google on the AI model side. And I ultimately believe that those companies are going to, and a few others are going to effectively dominate model development, right? And so they're going to effectively serve it like a utility, right? It's like electricity. It's like, it's like you get your gas, right? And as you're getting that gas of like, how do I do something with this model? What are the next phases? I think first and foremost, creation, right? Creation's going to change, right? It is going to be, can I enter in some keystrokes and get something out of it? Can I take something I already created and to make it into something different using that technology to make it that way? The translator I talked about is just a basic version of that, right? Can I take English and turn it into Spanish? Can I take a long video, turn it into short? But there's going to be more and more evolution on that in the next 2 to 3 years, especially with the video models you discussed. I think the management and then optimization, we talked about that, right? Like, how do you actually put metadata on it and figure out where to put it and actually have people find it, because there's going to be tonnage that comes through, right? It's going to be a wave of creation. Then you got to get people to watch it, right? You got to get people to engage. How do you get them to engage, right? You have to put it in front of them on the right platforms. And I think that's the question you're asking is like, are those platforms going to change? And I'm like, I probably, right? I mean, it's been a while. The phone's been around for a while. The internet's been around for a while, right? Like, people are trying glasses and headsets. I think those are a challenge, right? Most people don't want to put something on their face. that they don't have to. And I think that's the challenge with that one. If you get it in a contact lens, I'll feel better, right, about that ultimately happening. And we're not in that space. So no dog in that hunt, although we do work with those platforms to put video on them. And then look, you ultimately have to deliver great content, great quality, and do it efficiently, right? And doing that, frankly, is effectively the table stakes, but it does take expertise, right, to do that. And so I think as we've gotten to this efficient frontier of the current technologies, right, delivery over the internet, delivery to your phone, I now think you are probably flirting with what's next, right? Is it 2 years? I don't think so. Is it 10? Probably, And so you look at that range and say, in our career lifespan, there's definitely going to be some form of transformative distribution technology. I think the latest one was connected television, right? It was really getting the internet delivered over your TV. It sort of brought TV back to the TV. But you're starting to see that now become much more like the overall internet, right? You have interactive ads, you have a capability to actually use it like a business, as opposed to just to deliver movies and television shows, right? Or short form videos.
I think we have time to get this one from our audience. So Rolando, thanks for this question. So he's asking, what innovations in the AI-driven video production or personalization do you see that could specifically benefit small and medium-sized businesses?
Yeah, so I've always looked at the SMB market as an interesting one for video, because you actually ask for many of those businesses, of which there's 10 million plus in the United States, for example, like, how are you going to create video, right? It's like really hard. Like, if you're a restaurant, like, it's not like you're sitting there shooting more than 1 or 2 videos ever, right? Like, oh, we did 1 video and that's like kind of it.
Forever, yeah.
Right. And there's a video of the way it looks when it's beautifully set up and then we're done, or like, here's some people in it so it looks crowded and we're done. I think what's so amazing is that with the new forms of technology is that can absolutely ramp, right? You can do it on your phone. You can do it with low-level technologies of production. Very accessible. I mean, low-level, very accessible levels of technology. But now with AI, you can do like a ton of things. And those models are going to be put in front of small and medium-sized businesses. Now, they're not today in any robust way, right? Yeah, you can go to ChatGPT or you can go to something. But think about, we have a customer in Yelp, right, who services small businesses, right? And they use us to deliver video on their platform. And that's actually almost like, it's not a reseller, they're a customer, but they almost like resell us to lots, thousands of small businesses or millions of small businesses around the world. I can imagine that, in partnership with them, things that go to a small business and enable them to create so much more, right? To do so much more that's in there. So I am intrigued by the ease of production, the ability to create video in a text to video format, right? And that ease, and the ability to then drive engagement with that video, even for a small business. Now, if you're an internet focused small business, you're probably already here, right? You're probably already saying like, my text site isn't going to be my text site. It's going to be a video enabled site, right? Like, and how am I going to be able to create that and make that happen? And I think there's going to be great growth and opportunity there, for small businesses over time.
Love it. So we've covered a lot in today's show. I mean, we've talked about everything from how AI and video and this intersection is creating content creation, how it's impacting consumption, the impact on businesses, large and small. So Marc, as we wrap up here, what is the one most important takeaway that you think our audience needs to hear when it comes to this intersection of generative AI and video?
Yeah, look, I think if you're at a business and not on the entertainment side of this business, my view is experimentation is going to be wonderful over the next 2 to 3 years. Try things. We ran a bunch of pilots for our customers on purpose. We wanted them to try it. And so I view it as a wonderful time of exploration. And I sort of encourage folks, not just our customers, but out there, to try the different pieces and see what they can make out of it, right? I think that's where great innovation is born, is through experimentation, right? And I think driving that experimentation over the next few years is going to be key. And look, I'd say that wave is coming, whether you like it or not. I think you're going to like it. So, jump on, right? Like, go grab a board and get on that wave and see if you can surf it, to the shore.
Love to see that. And that's a great point, right? Like, now is the time to try while the rest of the world is trying, because it's not like anyone's going to look back and be like, oh, they tried this thing with AI video. Well, everyone's attempting it. I love that. Innovation is a great, to find the innovation now is a great time when everyone's experimenting. So we covered a ton today. This was super valuable. Marc, thank you so much for sharing your time and your expertise and coming on the Everyday AI Show. We really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Jordan. Appreciate it.
And hey, as a reminder, everyone, we covered a lot and there is going to be a lot more. So maybe you're out walking your dog or on the treadmill. You couldn't, take in everything that Marc said. Don't worry. We're going to be recapping it all on our free daily newsletter. So make sure you go to youreverydayai.com. If you haven't already, please do that. We'll be recapping it there. If this was helpful, if you're listening on the podcast, please leave us a rating. Please follow the show. We appreciate that. And join us back for Everyday AI next week, tomorrow. Thank you. We'll see y'all.
And that's a wrap for today's edition of Everyday AI. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a rating. It helps keep us going. For a little more AI magic, visit youreverydayai.com and sign up to our daily newsletter so you don't get left behind. Go break some barriers, and we'll see you next time.